What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Life's a Dance podcast. I am your host, Trey Culata. Thank you, as always, for pressing play and joining me on this journey through demystifying the human mind and spirit so that we can live up to our fullest potentials and be our most authentic selves. If you're new to the show, welcome. Today, I was giving some thought to the last podcast that I put out about, this kind of facing the inner child and letting go of spiritual baggage. And it got me to thinking that maybe since it's officially spring, that we should do some emotional and spiritual spring cleaning. I'm even experimenting with a new angle. If you're watching me on YouTube, just kind of feeling a little less cluttered and creating space for the things that we want to create in our lives. So when I talk about spiritual spring cleaning, specifically some of the things that I'm going to be going over this month are identifying things that have been holding us back, holding you back, like limiting beliefs and emotions. We'll uncover parts of our egos and our identities that we need to let go of. And also pinpointing and getting clarity around who we want to become and the transformation that we want to see. Because when we think about springtime is it's a time of transformation. And like I've talked about many times before on previous podcasts, in order to transform, we have to make space and let go of the person that we were before. Otherwise, true transformation doesn't happen. If you think about a seed in the ground, when you plant it, it has that hard, fibrous outer shell. And then as you continue to water it and give it sunlight, which is, by the way, also very important for us as humans, it starts to grow and it breaks that outer fibrous shell and then eventually pushes up through the soil and out into the sunshine. So, to become its new beautiful self. And even from there, it's like you start out as a little seedling plant and then the flowers blossom. And you know what I mean? You see where I'm going with this. I'm getting a little, girly and hippy dippy, but whatever. I mean, it's springtime, so I'm allowed. So anyway, that's a few of the basic tenets of what's going to be happening as we get into this whole spiritual spring cleaning. And anybody who loves me knows that I love to clean. I am OCD, baby. Everything's got to have a home. Things got to be clean. So, and why not our spirits and our minds? So let's do it. Let's get enthusiastic. Let's get our cleaning supplies, that thing, in between our ears and that heart right behind our rib cage. And is it behind the rib cage? I feel like it is, right? The sternum. I guess the ribs are a little bit lower. I don't know. It goes to show how much I know about human anatomy. But anyway, moving on. So let's get to identifying things that tend to hold us back. Obviously, the biggest one being our limiting beliefs. We carry around limiting beliefs, whether we want them or not, whether we're conscious of them or not. And I think some of the biggest limiting beliefs that we have, obviously, stem from our childhood, stem from society, stem from the things that we've grown up seeing in our surroundings. And somewhere along the way, I was thinking about this actually just earlier today, when you're a child, and I guess because of the whole inner child episode I just recorded, when you're a kid, it's like the world is limitless. There is literally no limit to what you think you can do, right? I want to be an astronaut. I want to be the president. And somewhere along the way, well, it's not even somewhere along the way, all along the way, we become jaded and get this kind of hardness and settling, these tendencies to just learn that like, well, or accept that we aren't necessarily going to get what we want out of life. And whether that comes from parents or, going through the school system or, working at a job and not getting a promotion, we tend to start to see that we lose this belief in ourselves that we're capable of more. And it doesn't really matter where along the journey it happens, but it happens to all of us. It's like we give up on the dream. And why? And sometimes the dream changes. Like my dream when I was little, I remember I wanted to be a psychiatrist. I wanted to be a psychiatrist because I thought my whole family was crazy and I could give out free help and maybe help myself. And maybe in a way I'm still fulfilling that prophecy by doing this podcast, almost 40 years later. And then it's like the dream was to become a rock star. Did I pursue it? No. And I guess that's another thing that we kind of get misled along the way is like, okay, well, I can become this thing, but if it's a dream, then maybe it should we're also in an instant gratification type of world. So if we don't get the gratification instantly, we kind of ADHD it and move on to the next thing versus sticking it out and being consistent. So nobody's giving us the formula for making shit happen. We just kind of have to get in line, accept our lot in life, maybe with a little elbow grease and some sweat, we can eke out a living or make some shit happen, put away some money in savings and retirement and live out an okay existence. But what if there's more? What if it could get better? Somewhere along the way, we have been mentally shut down to believe that life just gets, not necessarily worse over time, but it doesn't necessarily get any better. Like the saying, can it get any better than this? How often do you say that to yourself? Probably not very often. But for the people that do believe these things innately in their hearts, like, man, like, can you believe, like, can it even get any better than this? I remember thinking that with my husband when I met him. He was the first man I ever met where I thought to myself, gosh, I mean, what if it gets better? Because especially with relationships, we always think that, over time they just degrade. And the love is lost and, we turn into platonic friends or whatever. Just it goes down, right? Versus getting better over time. And identifying these limiting beliefs within ourselves because they're different for everybody and they stem from all different places is going to be like weeding that garden. You got to get all those weeds out in order to plant the seeds that are going to bear the fruit and the veggies that we throw into our most beautiful and delicious salad of life. Life is like a salad, right? It's like a little lettuce, a little tomato, a belief, a little, love and some fun travel experiences, shake it up. Make it what you want. And I think that that's important. It's like we have to figure out what those things are. And growing up, so I'll give you some personal examples just to kind of grease the wheels, right? When I was growing up as a kid, it was my mom was an accountant, dad was an engineer. Pack your not the suitcase, the briefcase, and go to work your 8-hour shift, come home, clock out, whatever, right? And it was just kind of eke out the existence. And that's it. You had to work hard. You had to get a stable job, had to go to college. And these are very, very like basic overarching limiting beliefs. Like we can get into and will get into like the more core, deeper limiting beliefs, like feelings of unworthiness and lack and all that stuff. Because in order to let them go and reorganize them into something better, into a better belief system, because where do beliefs come from? They come from our predominant thoughts. 90% of the thoughts that we think are repeat from the day before and the day before that and the day before that. So all we're ever doing is living essentially a past version of ourselves over and over and over again. So to start this process of rewiring your limiting beliefs, you have to first identify what those limiting beliefs are. And we've covered this for me personally in other podcasts where it was feelings of unworthiness, feelings of lack, I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. And identifying those things helps to be able to actually be aware of when they pop up in your head, because those predominant thoughts that repeat over and over and over again, I'm never going to get ahead. I'm never going to be financially successful. Gosh, life is such a grind. Why does it always have to be such a grind? Those are the things that you don't even realize that you're repeating to yourself over and over again, that we got to spring clean it. We got to sweep it out. We got to gather them all together, crumple them up, and throw them away. Take a breath. Hand them over to the universe so that the universe can reorganize it into something greater. All right, guys, so let's get excited about our journey through April. I'm going to kind of end it there. A little teaser for the episodes to come. But I want you to write down, all right, a little bit of homework. Write down as you go through your day, notice the limiting thoughts. Let's start with the thoughts, because the thoughts create the belief that creep up in your day. And it could be any number of just little negative things that come up. Even looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, God, I look like shit. Any type of, I'm going to do the same thing, and then we'll reconvene later this week or later next week, I guess. Because this podcast will be my Thursday drop, and I drop on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So for anybody that's new here. So let's do some homework. Let's write down those limiting beliefs. We'll reconvene, and we can start deconstructing how to rewire those thoughts so that the predominant thoughts in your head start becoming ones of hope, faith, and trust, and belief and confidence in yourself and what you're capable of. Okay? Because let's transform. We want transformation. We want to level up. And some of us are so stuck being, clinging to our past that we cannot get out of our own damn way. So my hope is that by the end of the month, we will all be getting out of our own damn way. Our little shells will start to crack open, and we're going to blossom into these beautiful new spiritual beings that are capable of anything and that are unstoppable and limitless, just like I mentioned at the beginning of the year. That's my word of the year. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. I love you all. Until next time, let's dance.